our band member Shruti will take over the section called Truth or Misconception. Would you like to explain this section, Shruti?
Yeah, sure. So I'm just going to be telling you guys a statement, and Mr. Rugani can answer whether it's a truth or a misconception. Okay, so truth or misconception. I won't have time to keep up with school while I'm doing band.
False. I don't know. I kind of want to say where there's a will, there's a way. If you're committed to learning music, you will learn music and everything else. I've had students in the past who are straight A students who get a 4.8 or whatever, and they go to Stanford and whatever, and they played music all 4 years of high school, and they didn't have any big issues with keeping up with things. I'm sure it's stressful. I mean, that's not how I was never that way. I wasn't one of those students who took, 20 AP classes and 62 other classes 1 year and, whatever, I don't know, whatever the case may be. But if you want to succeed, it's really just like working out a schedule for yourself. Like, this is what I need to do. And that will help you not have as much stress and kind of just help you zone into what you need to do. But you can, if you want to do it, you will be able to do it. It can happen.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think music actually helps you do better in school. But...
It can. I mean, it just, you have the work that's the music, and some people will be like, well, I'm going to do all my academic stuff, and then whatever happens with music happens. And I'm like, I don't really understand that, because that's not how.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, but music is one of your classes, so either take it seriously or don't do it. Like, that's what it is. Either do it and fully go for all of your classes, or don't. Because again, you picked to do music. You've chosen to do it, so let's make it happen and let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. The second one is truth or misconception. I can't do sports and be in band.
It's difficult, but you sure can. When I taught at San Ramon Valley High School, I co-taught the marching group, and we had, I think for 2 of the years, we had a varsity football player in the marching group. So after they finished their game at halftime, he came and marched with the group in his football uniform, and then would go and do, because we would only do part of the halftime. So I think he still had time to do part of the halftime and then go with the team for the talk or whatever during halftime. So we've had students do that, and sometimes there's, things happen and they can't do whatever competition or whatever. But it's hard. The thing, if you do sports and you do music, you can't choose one over the other. You need to compromise on both of them. I've had many students, and it's very frustrating, that come up to me and say, oh, Mr. Gunn, I have a baseball game, I can't come to the concert. I'm like, okay, how many baseball games do you have in a year? I don't know, 12. How many concerts do you have this semester? 1. So you can't come to 1 concert, but you can't miss all of the 12 of the baseball games. So, and then the other thing I always ask them, I'll say, okay, all right, so you can't come. Have you talked to your coach that you have? No, I didn't talk to my coach about it. I'm like, so why are you talking to me telling me you can't come? And you haven't talked to your coach, who's probably willing to say, all right, why don't you leave early or come late, whatever the case may be. Why don't you leave our practice or our game a little bit early? You play the first part of it, then you can go to your concert. And I'm like, adults are willing to compromise with you. And any adult who's not willing and saying, no, you will be here for my game, I said they should not be coaching, because that's not how life should work. It shouldn't be you do this and you don't do that because I'm more important. No, it's not more important. You can do it, but you need to make sure that you compromise and talk to everybody who's involved. So talk to your teacher, who's the music teacher, talk to your coach, who's the coach, and say, all right, here's my conflict. I need help figuring out what to do. Can I come late? Can I leave early? Can I, whatever the case may be. I've always worked with students on that, unless they let me know like the day of the concert, and I'm like, I don't have time to work out with you. You need to work on that ahead of time and not just spring it on me an hour before our concert. But yes, you can do both of those things. It just takes a little bit of juggling, but if you're willing to do that juggling, then you can totally do that.
Right, I completely agree. It's more fair if you talk to both people involved.
Yeah.
So, third truth or misconception is if I do band in high school, I have to continue it in college.
No. I would encourage you to, because the more you do, the longer you stay with the playing music, the better it gets, and your friendships get stronger and better. But you don't have to in college. The other reason why I would suggest it, even if you're, I mean, if you're a music major, duh, obviously you're going to continue on in college. But if you're not doing music as a major or a minor, I would still do it because it's something different in your college career, right? So if you're going, let's say you're going to be a scientist of some sort. So you have biology, you have chemistry, you have math, you have all these really like intense classes that you have to take, and labs and everything else, like 5 hour long classes and labs that you have to take, which is just like, oh my gosh, like that's so hard. Um, but then if you're playing in a band or orchestra or something like that, or a group, and you have some kind of music, it can kind of let you zone out of all those other things, which is a really cool thing about music. I mean, there are difficulties in music, but also then you go and you see your friends that, like, oh, these are my musician friends. We're cool. We get to play some music together. We just can, we get to jam, or we get to play music, whatever the case may be. And it's your brain gets to work in a different way and do something different. And it just kind of, I don't know. It's a good thing to have as a release, or as a different aspect of all the rest of the stresses and whatnot of college,
Yeah, I
even
feel like
even in high school.
music is really like soothing. Like after like doing a lot of work, you can just like relax with music. So yeah. Thank you, Shruti, and thank you, Mr. Rugani. Moving on, I'd like to ask you some more questions. Um, so what is the best advice you've ever received music related?
The best advice that I ever received. Um, wow. I don't know. I don't know what the best advice that I ever received would be. You know what? I would have to get back to you on that, because I'm not sure what the best
Mhm.
advice would be.
Yeah, it is pretty thought provoking, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll
I
get
mean,
back to
I've had
that
lots of advice. Keep practicing, try harder, the
one.
normal kind of stuff, but that's the normal. I'm trying to think of something that's more like, oh, but I don't have anything specific to that. Um, I could share like something that was kind of the opposite, which was when I was in college, junior college. I went to junior college, and I went to 4 year university after that. When I was in junior college, so a little bit of background first. When I went to college, I did not know how to read music on like staff. I didn't know how to read ABC. I didn't know how to read any of that. I
Oh
could read
wow.
rhythms, but I didn't know how to read music that way. So when I was a freshman in college, I was learning music theory and how to read music and ear training and piano all at the same time. So I was learning all of that stuff, and I didn't know how to read music. So I was learning how to read the notes as well while I was doing theory. I kind of knew a little bit about it, but I couldn't have really told you where everything was, which is another reason why I'm really adamant about students knowing what the notes are on a page and stuff like that. So I had a test. It was a singing test for sight read singing, and anyone who's taken sight singing, even for singers, sight singing is a hard class. But for someone who has never sung anything, I was taking it, and I think it was the second semester. Um, it could have maybe even been my second year, so I already had a year in. I don't remember what year it was, but I went to my professor, and I had a singing test with her. So I met her in her office, and she was having me sing some stuff. And I've had no choir experience at this point, and my ear training is horrible because I've never really played an instrument where I had to know how to play things in tune or whatever. So I'm trying to learn all this stuff at once. And so I met with her and we sang, and it was a pretty disaster. It was not very good. And so she said, "So what do you want to achieve with music? What do you want to do in music?" I said, "Well, I'm training. I want to be a music teacher. I want to teach music." I said, "I don't know what level yet, but I want to teach music." And so she looked at me and she said, "You may want to change your mind."
Wow.
And I was like, uh
Oh my God.
it was like a slap in the face. And that was one of the reasons why after that I said, I'm going to show you. I am going to show you. I'm going to become a music teacher because I want to, but also because I want to come back and show you I've made it. I'm doing fine doing this. And since then I've gotten a lot better with ear training just because I've played a lot longer and I've had more experience with it. But it was kind of like, how dare you like stomp on my dreams like that? Like
Wow.
with something that I'm trying. I just don't get it, and I'm trying. But so it's kind of the opposite type of thing. So it wasn't so much about the most inspiring thing someone said to me or whatever. It was kind of more an inspiring thing by something someone did or something someone said to me that was negative. That I was like, what? I was like, okay,
You
no.
definitely showed her. Yeah, you're an
So yeah,
amazing.
it was really like, no. You know what? What you should do is say, you know, be honest. That was awful. Let's figure out how we're going to make it better, because that would be
Yeah,
the right way to approach it.
yeah. Yeah, that was a horrible way
Yeah,
for
that's
her
kind
to.
of a rude thing to say to a student.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It was kind of like, uh, whoa, yeah.
wow. That was interesting. What would you be doing if you wouldn't be doing your music career?
I don't know. I've thought about that before. I've thought about, well, if I wasn't teaching music or if I wasn't playing music, what would I fall back on? A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to do music as my fallback." Well, music is my career and my fault. Like I don't have a fallback. So I don't know what I would be doing. I would probably, because I have a knack for the teaching part, like educating people. When I was in Boston, when I was having a hard time with finding a job, I got a second job at a bike shop because I'm a biker and I like biking. And I really enjoyed doing the research and teaching when people wanted to buy a bike, teaching them why this bike did this and why this bike did this. And for what they wanted to do, this bike would be a better choice for them. And I didn't care if they bought the bike, but I like educating people. So I think if I was not in music or music education, I think I'd be in education in some other fashion. Um, I don't know what it would be, but I think I'd be in music in some way or in some kind of sales position where I could inform people and teach people about a product or something, because that's my passion. That's what I like to do, and I like to feel that I'm good at that. At least sometimes I'm good at that. So
Yeah, you are
I
definitely.
think that's what I would probably be doing. I don't know exactly what it would be in, but it'd be some kind of education, teaching of some sort. It just wouldn't be in music.
Okay. Um, Before we go, what's your favorite instrument and why? I think you've already mentioned this, but you said you like to play the drums a lot. So is that your
Well,
favorite
my
instrument?
primary instrument is percussion and drums. That's what I've been trained on. That's when I tell students, they say, "What is your instrument?" I say, "Well, drums, percussion are what people pay me to play. Like if they're going to hire me to play something, they're going to hire me to play the drum set or whatever. They're not going to hire me to play the flute or the trumpet or whatever. Maybe if it was for elementary school, but they're probably not going to hire me. I'm just going to say, you know what? I'll just come sit in with the band. That's fine. Whatever. I don't care." Um, but I think one of my favorite kind of instrument, I like low instruments, which is weird because I don't play any low instruments. So I like bass clarinet, the bari sax, tuba, bass, all the contrabass instruments. I like those. Those are like, I hear those and I'm like, oh yes, that's like a good bass clarinet is just like, oh, that's so awesome. It sounds really good. I don't even play those instruments. I mean, I can play them, but I can't play them well. But just the sound of them. But um, I really like my favorite kind of music to listen to that I wish I could do is a cappella singing,
Hmm.
um, and like barbershop. I wish I could be in a barbershop quartet, but I would sing. I could be in a barbershop quartet if I was the one who was able to sing the tenor, the the melody part. But my voice is tenor baritone, so I would always be singing the inner parts, and those are the hardest parts to sing. And I wouldn't be successful with singing with three other guys trying to make that work. But like a well-oiled barbershop quartet or a jazz choir or something, a group of students who or people who are singing and they're making all the harmonies and all the sounds with their voices. I think that's totally awesome, and I love that. I don't even teach choir anymore, but that's like one of my favorite kinds of music, just to kind of like, oh, that's awesome. Like one of my most favorite musicians is Bobby McFerrin. I don't know if you know who Bobby McFerrin is. He's well known for singing "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Don't worry, be happy. Woo. So he's the one who sang that, but that's like not one of his most favorite pieces of music that to perform. But he's known for that one. But he's like his vocalese, like the range of his voice and what he can do with his voice is just like amazing. Like I just love listening to him. And he sings classical music, he sings jazz music, he sings all sorts of stuff. And it's just like to listen to him sing is just amazing. And I love
Oh,
listening.
I'll listen to him for sure. I haven't heard of him before.
Yeah,
But
Bobby McFerrin is and he's been around for years, and he's just a phenomenal musician. And he's sung with he has a cool album with Yo Yo Ma on the cello, and he has a really cool. I love his jazz album with Chick Corea on piano. He just like he just sing, and he does a Fourier. He does a song by Fourier that's just like, oh my god, it's so beautiful, and it just to listen to him sing is just awesome. And there's a few of those singers that are just like, oh wow. But
do you
like,
enjoy singing?
what's that?
Do you enjoy singing?
Um, I don't enjoy singing that much. I mean,
Oh,
when I can, if it's in the right environment, sure. Um, but it's one of the things that I wish I would have been able to. I wish that would have been something that I would have done when I was younger and had some more experience. Like I was so into music in high school. My senior year of high school, we only had to take 5 classes, um, and I took let's see, I had jazz band, I was TA for jazz choir, and then I had 3 classes that were math, English, and poli sci and economics. Those are like all my, but they were all music. And then I gigged all the time. I had gigs all the time. I had groups that I played with outside of school and whatnot. So if I would have known then, I probably would have added choir into that because that would have been awesome. And like when I was in college, we didn't really have uh, choirs at where I went to 4-year college, but my senior year of college, because I had gone to a JC, so I had done most of all of my academic classes I got out of the way when I was in JC. Then when I went to college, I basically had 2 years where I had to take some other um, English classes and history classes and stuff like that. I did my first 2 years at the 4-year college, and then it was all music. And my last year in school, I had taken all my education classes. I just had a year because I had to finish up percussion stuff. I think I took 8 classes. Every single one of them was a performance class.
oh wow.
I had jazz band, wind ensemble, percussion ensemble. I was in like 3 combos. I had like 6 or 7, like 7 or 8 classes that I took. Every single one of them was performance. None of them were academic. Every single one, just because I was like, yes. But I also had worked hard and taken every class I needed to take up to that point, and I had to finish up taking my percussion and finishing my jury and stuff like that for my senior year. So I wish at some point in there I would have been, put into in college I did take choir one semester, and then it kind of went away. And we did a concert. I did enjoy doing that, but I never really got into it. So I think if I was put into choir or were able to sing more with people who knew what they were doing and bring me to that level, I think I would have a lot of fun with it, just because I really like the harmonies and whatnot with it. But I don't do a lot of singing besides, like on my own or singing for the students in class when I'm like, okay, your part goes like this. Da, da, da. And I guess I kind of enjoy that, but I never really got into singing in like a group. But that's something that I would have, looking back at what I've done now, I would have liked to learn piano when I was young. I would have liked to be in chorus and then done everything else that I've done. So
Oh,
everything else that I've done, but those are 2 things that I wish I would have done. And anyone who's really, really motivated and wants to do music, certainly as a career, I would say do that. Definitely do piano. Make sure you can play a piano. Even if you can't
yeah.
play really, really well, just know your way around a piano, like be able to sit down at something and kind of pluck it out even slowly. And if you can, do some kind of chorus so that you kind of have a well-rounded, I've got my ear training from chorus and from piano, and then I relate that into band or strings or whatever. But if you want to be well-rounded with that, I would suggest that you try to do that, because that'll make you like, a force to be reckoned with in the music world. if you will.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Rugani, for taking the time and sharing this valuable information. I'm sure this will help answer any questions that incoming students may have about the Pine Valley Middle School band program. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I think we all learned a lot from this.
Good. Well, thank you for having me. It's been great. I like what you're doing here, and I hope I can help you more or see what you do in the future. And keep me notified of what's going on. Keep me involved. If you need me again to come back or need any support, let me know, and I'll be happy to
Mhm.
help out where I can.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.